So the Pittsburgh Steelers just quietly hinted at a huge defensive shift. And there's two things that I'm going to talk about today. An ascending player, a guy that's not getting much airtime at all, and plus a brand new coach on your Pittsburgh Steelers that's already paying huge dividends. And guys, I think together, you might actually really have something here. So we're looking at the Pittsburgh Steelers this year. You guys relying on an undrafted free agent in Beanie Bishop Jr. for most of the 2024 NFL offseason. But now moving forward, he's going to be continuing to be a part, an even bigger part of this new look secondary here. Kind of look at how he was last year, right? He was targeted early and often, kind of struggled on the field at the beginning of the year. But over time, the kid started to really hit his stride. You started to see a pretty solid cornerback. If you remember that game against now Pittsburgh Steelers, Aaron Rodgers, that 2-pick game, just really showing what he can be as a player. So we're looking at by the end of the season, he had 4 picks, and he proved he could hold his own. And this is from a dude that wasn't even drafted. This is just a really nice pickup by your Pittsburgh Steelers. The good thing is he's not one of the high-priced stars on this team, but this is so important that this group improves, especially if we look over what happened last year. Now you're looking at the Steelers investing heavily in their defense, most notably in the draft this year. Man, Harmon was a great pick. Black is going to be a stud at defensive tackle. You have some free agents coming in. Expectations are getting higher and higher for this defense. Don't worry about TJ Watt. I think he's going to get signed. But the thing is, Bishop personally, he's focused on continuing to grow, and he's also confident that this entire unit is going to hit their high watermark this year. And one of the biggest reasons, and this is via Steelers insider Mike DeFabo, it's a defensive backs coach that's really bringing all this together, and that's Gerald Alexander, a newcomer to this team, and Beanie Bishop. He's really impressed by this guy, and I think we should take notice of this. So if you look at what Alexander's doing, he's already making huge changes on a huge weakness from last year. You guys watch your defense kind of fall apart at the end of the year. And we're talking about a brand new approach. We're talking about stronger communication in the secondary and in a different way, a different focus. And the defense, with this, has a real chance to become an absolutely elite unit in the NFL this year. And I'm going to go straight to what Beanie Bishop had to say. We're throwing in a couple new calls, some new zones, a couple new mans, and a couple new blitzes, things like that. Obviously, teams aren't going to be prepared for certain things like... We've never seen the Steelers run this. And many Steelers fans watched the secondary kind of fell apart at the end of the year, right? The defense often looked really predictable. I think you could say the offense did at times. A lot of times Arthur Smith is not the most creative play caller. Let's talk about the defense today, but you're looking at a lot of soft coverage, a lot of kind of allowing opposing quarterbacks to, it looked like they were playing pitch and catch towards the end of the season. And that's really disappointing because this Steelers defense is the highest paid NFL defense right now, and they shouldn't be getting carved up by anybody, let alone some of the teams that you guys went up against last year. So we're looking at his recent comments. It should give us some optimism that really you're not going to have a predictable defense that's going to get shredded in the secondary. I think the staff has taken a hard look at the problems from last season, and they're working to fix them. And one of the things that is contributing to this being fixed is your new defensive backs coach. I think he's going to make a huge difference. And it feels like a real change is underway because Bishop really thinks so. So it's a clear focus on making improvements. Bishop's insight on it makes it feel like real change is already happening. So we're looking at during OTAs and this last minicamp, the mandatory minicamp, Alexander was really hands-on with the team, really with his players. He often led installation periods. He took charge of teaching the defensive backs, and he has an approach that's a big attention to detail. Could be exactly what this secondary needs to be dominant. And it's going to be interesting to see just how much say Alexander is going to have when scheming up this defense. Bishop seems to think that he will. at the end of the day, they still don't have a lot of money invested in me personally. They obviously drafted a guy like Dante Kent this year. They brought in Eccles. So I'm never just comfortable and like, oh yeah, this is my spot. No, I'd never think like that. I always got to have the chip on my shoulder because I still don't forget where I came from. He's understanding he's facing lots of competition. He's going to be competing for meaningful snaps, but I think he's going to rise above. You're looking at Dante Kent, a 7th-round pick, not really huge draft capital. He still has talent. He could still climb the draft chart, right? Eccles, a veteran that I really like. He's got lots of starting experience. He could bring more depth to the secondary as well, but I think they're going to be lining up behind Beanie Bishop here. And he knows he's got to take another step forward. He showed a lot of promise last year from an undrafted guy, but now he's a returning roster guy. So it's going to be really interesting here. And I think he showed a lot of moxie last year. Thrown into a really difficult situation from a small school, just really made an impression, and now this motivation that he has for this year, it's going to be huge. He's not just looking to keep his spot on the roster. He wants to show that he can be a reliable player and an actual impact player, not just a guy that we don't have anyone else, let's throw in this UDFA. So if we're kind of looking at this, this is what he has to say, and this is from the Athletics Pittsburgh correspondent Mike DeFabo once again. This is just recently. He's saying in camp so far, in mandatory minicamp, Bishop's really beginning to separate himself in the nickel competition, noting later, while the offseason additions of former New York Jet Brandon Eccles and 7th-round draft pick Kent, they've complicated the nickel conversation, but Bishop took a strong step forward through OTAs and now through this newly finished minicamp. He confirmed that he played extensively with the first-team defense when interviewed, and he knows from last year that just because a player begins the year as a starter, it doesn't guarantee he'll finish the season the same way, right? Because we were looking at him by the Week 9 bye, the guy was averaging 44.3 defensive snaps a game. He just intercepted 3 passes in a 2-game stretch. Thank you, this is a doghouse. However, when Cam Sutton, when he returned from suspension, Bishop, he just had his role changed. And I don't know if that was the greatest decision. The results weren't awesome. He was still used sometimes as a nickel, but most of his playing time, it came in other sub-package, right? Dime situations. And as a result, ended up playing about half as much in the second half of the season, down to almost 20 defensive snaps of the game. At that point, playing time just dwindled. And then for the final 2 games, he was only on the field for 6 defensive snaps. So I hope he can rise above this. I hope the coaching staff sees his dedication to the team, sees his bond with the defensive backs coach, sees how he recognizes the need for him to ascend. A little more from Bishop. I got a lot of improvements to do. Obviously, the lack of reps late in the season, being able to build more chemistry with the guys, plus knowing more this year than I did last year. And he voiced that end of the day, the Steelers still don't have a lot of money invested in me. They obviously drafted these guys, and I'm never once again going to be comfortable and say, yeah, that's my spot. But I think this guy is determined to grab it, and I think this is just going to really show out well. And per PFF, Bishop could also get a little better in the end zone as well. He was charged with 3 touchdown receptions allowed as a rookie. That's not great. Overall, though, his cumulative QB passer rating against was solid, 78.1. But 3 penalties that he's got to clear up. The aforementioned touchdowns that he allowed in the end zone, those have to be picked up. And he actually finished at a below average 57.1 despite having the 4 interceptions. So this is kind of a mixed bag if we're looking at what an undrafted free agent did his first year as a starter. Then he kind of fell out of favor a little bit. Look for Beanie Bishop to make some noise in this defense in training camp. And also, I really like his recognition that this Steelers defense in the secondary, we're really going to see a shift as this year starts. A little less predictable, a little more aggressive, and I think your new defensive backs coach is going to be a big part of that. I hope he has a big part in how this secondary is schemed as well. You guys let me know what you think in the comments. This has been so much fun. You guys have been awesome as we grow this channel together. I'll continue to be here with Pittsburgh Steelers News on the Daily. See ya.